In the previous episode, we saw Elizabeth and Lei Ping heating up, but Lei Ping stopped her and told her to wait. He wanted to process things step by step. First, he wanted to propose to her, then get married, and only after that would they move further. Elizabeth thought carefully, but eventually agreed with Lei Ping. Lei Ping, dressed in swimming shorts and carrying a float ring under his arm, pointed forward with a wide grin. His golden eyes shone with excitement as he declared it was time to set off. Beside him, Elizabeth, her crimson hair flowing under the sunlight, wore a frilled bikini and rested one hand on her hip. She watched him with a calm yet slightly amused expression, indulging in his playful energy. Lei Ping recalled what Pixius's younger sister had told him. He explained that if they pulled the handle first, the magic door would randomly generate a number. After that, opening the door would lead them directly to the hot spring island that matched the number. Standing before the large door, Lei Ping remarked that with so many different hot spring scenes to choose from, this setup was truly a blessing for people who had trouble deciding. To him, it felt like a surprisingly thoughtful design. The mechanism on the door began to spin, its wooden panels clicking and shifting. Numbers rapidly flashed across the display until they stopped with a sharp sound. The digits 16 appeared clearly. Lei Ping and Elizabeth exchanged a glance. This was the hot spring island they had been assigned. The magic door was now ready to transport them to destination 16. As the glowing door opened, they stepped through, instantly transported to their destination. Lei Ping's eyes lit up when he realized where they had landed. He exclaimed joyfully, "I can't believe we drew the water park on the very first try." Elizabeth glanced around at the colorful slides and floating tubes, her crimson hair swaying as she took in the vibrant scene with quiet amusement. Standing at the top of the massive slide, Lei Ping looked down with a tense expression. Beads of sweat rolled down his forehead as he stared at the steep drop. His body stiffened, and for a moment he was silent. Only a small, uneasy sigh escaped him. The towering slide loomed beneath his feet, endless and daring him to take the plunge. Nervously, he swallowed hard and turned stiffly toward Elizabeth. Forcing a weak smile, he muttered, "Elizabeth, maybe we should just go somewhere else instead." Elizabeth crossed her arms, her crimson eyes gleaming with authority as she cut him off. "Enough with the nonsense," she ordered sharply. "Hurry up and go down. For your queen." Lei Ping froze, a nervous smile tugging at his lips. He hesitated, stammering, clearly wanting to protest, but Elizabeth's commanding tone left him no room to argue. Before he could finish, she gave him a firm shove. Lei Ping lost his balance, his startled cry echoing through the air as the two of them were launched forward together. Shooting down the twisting water slide, Lei Ping screamed at the top of his lungs, his arms clinging desperately to Elizabeth. She, however, remained completely unbothered. With her eyes closed and a faint smile on her lips, she seemed calm and relaxed, as though enjoying a gentle breeze rather than a high-speed plunge. At first, Lei Ping was terrified, but as the water rushed past and the slide twisted wildly, his fear melted into exhilaration. His golden eyes sparkled with excitement as he laughed loudly, his voice full of joy. Elizabeth blinked in surprise. She hadn't expected him to shift from trembling in fear to bursting with laughter so quickly. This is nothing more than a mortal's creation. So why is it that Lei Ping can embrace it so joyfully, she wondered. She remembered how Lei Ping once aided in withdrawing divine authority to help the people of the kingdom of Aristotle. She had already ascended into sainthood, yet now she realized she, too, must understand what it means to descend into the mortal realm. Elizabeth closed her eyes, her crimson hair swaying gently as her thoughts turned inward. To observe the world, to absorb it, and to transform it into nourishment for oneself. I know the principle well. But as a queen, it has always been hard for me to let go of my pride, to lower my stance. Yet now, with Lei Ping deliberately showing me through his actions, it feels like he is giving me a lesson meant only for me. I, too, must put away my divine authority, return to nothingness, start from zero. In this flawed, imperfect world, I must temper myself. She accepted the idea of walking the mortal path alongside Lei Ping. The water roared beneath them as they shot down the slide together. Both of them let out over-the-top screams, their faces twisted in exaggerated shock. Elizabeth clung tightly to Lei Ping, her crimson hair whipping wildly, while he flailed helplessly against the speed of descent. With a final whoosh, they were launched straight out of the slide, soaring comically through the air. For a split second, they floated above the pool like ragdolls. They crashed into the pool below with an explosive splash, sending water spraying everywhere. Their chaotic ride ended, leaving only ripples and echoes behind. After the plunge, they found themselves in another part of the water park. This time, They were each riding inflatable floats. Leping straddled a giant pink pig float, grinning with boyish excitement as the waves carried him. Elizabeth, on the other hand, sat gracefully atop a fierce-looking orca float. Her red hair flowed behind her, and though she looked composed, Leping splashed water playfully with a mischievous grin. His aim was precise, sending cool droplets flying toward her. Elizabeth, standing elegantly in the shallows, narrowed her crimson eyes. Her long red hair clung to her back, dripping from the earlier plunge. Leping's face lit up with pure joy, his golden eyes sparkling under the sun. Water droplets shimmered on his skin like tiny gems as he laughed freely, radiating happiness. Elizabeth's crimson eyes softened as she watched him. For the first time in a long while, her stern expression melted into something lighter, almost childlike. In her heart, she finally understood. So this is what Leping wants to teach me, to feel joy in its purest form, to embrace the simplest happiness without overthinking. Hand in hand, Leping and Elizabeth stepped through the shallow waters, their reflections rippling beneath them. Ahead, a playful elephant-shaped fountain sprayed arcs of water, almost beckoning them forward. Beneath the spray, their silhouettes stood close, framed by the shimmering curtain. The rushing water drowned out the world, leaving only the two of them in that fleeting, secret space. Leping leaned closer, his breath brushing against Elizabeth's lips. Her crimson eyes softened before fluttering shut, her heart racing. His trembling hand found her waist, pulling her gently toward him. Elizabeth's slender fingers pressed against his chest, not to push him away, but to steady herself. Her grip tightened, a silent declaration louder than words. Under the soft glow of the evening, Leping and Elizabeth stood so close that their breaths mingled in the cool air. Their faces were flushed, not from the water anymore, but from the overwhelming tension between them. Leping's golden eyes softened as he looked at her, his voice low yet steady. "Elizabeth," he whispered, "I like you." Elizabeth's cheeks burned red as she looked into his eyes. Her lips trembled for a moment before she finally spoke, her voice soft but steady. "I like you too." Even as she said it, her heart pounded wildly. Leping confessed to me again. This scorching warmth inside me is unbearable, as if my whole body is set ablaze. But just as the moment lingered, her expression shifted. She blinked, tilting her head with curiosity. "Something just pressed against me?" she murmured, her crimson eyes narrowing in surprise. Glancing down, her cheeks burned even redder. "It's hard, bumping against my thigh." Leping froze completely, his face turning beet red. His golden eyes widened as panic washed over him. He stammered, begging Elizabeth to wait, insisting it wasn't what she thought. Then, a sharp realization struck him. His eyes widened in horror. The proposal ring. "It's still in my pocket." This might be the perfect moment. The closeness. The atmosphere. If not now, when will I ever have the courage to propose? His throat tightened as he forced the words out, his voice trembling with both fear and sincerity. "Elizabeth, would you be willing to marry me?" The words tumbled out clumsily, rushed and awkward. "What am I even saying?" he cursed inwardly. "I'm so nervous my lips are shaking." Elizabeth's crimson eyes softened as she gazed at him, her lips curving into the faintest of smiles. "Enough," she said gently, cutting off his stammering. "You don't need to say anything more." Leping froze, his golden eyes widening as her words sank in. His entire body trembled, not from fear, but from the overwhelming rush of relief and joy flooding his chest. Elizabeth leaned closer, her warm breath brushing against his lips, her eyes shimmering with rare vulnerability. "As long as it's what you want," she whispered with a faint smile. "You can do anything to me." Leping's face flushed crimson, his golden eyes widening in shock. His heart pounded wildly in his chest, almost louder than the water rushing around them. No, that's not what I meant," he stammered, his trembling voice betraying just how shaken he was. But suddenly, both Elizabeth and Leping froze as an unfamiliar voice echoed from beyond the watery curtain of the elephant fountain. Location: Elephant Fountain Pool. Remaining under the water curtain for more than 30 minutes. Record it. Their heads snapped toward the sound, the intimate moment instantly shattered. Outside the cascading water curtain, Elif and Miss Pythias stood in black suits, calmly taking notes, completely oblivious to the private atmosphere they were ruining. Pythias adjusted her glasses and said flatly, "Is it that the other places don't have enough attraction, or is it that this spot is designed better? The data will help us adjust the unreasonable parts." Hearing this, Elif nodded in agreement. As expected of the king of Aristod Kingdom, the scientific mindset is truly rigorous. She quickly jotted the note into her small leather notebook. Meanwhile, Leping forced an awkward laugh, scratching the back of his head as beads of sweat rolled down his cheek. "You really don't need to pay so much attention to us," he muttered bitterly, thinking, the mood's been completely ruined. Elizabeth's expression, however, darkened. Her crimson eyes were shadowed beneath her bangs, her voice sharp and cold. "Enough. I've had enough." She turned on her heel, water splashing lightly under her steps as she strode away with commanding grace. Her patience, already stretched thin by constant interruptions, had finally snapped. Elizabeth's eyes burned with a dangerous intensity as her voice came out low and sharp, carrying the full weight of her authority as the Demon Queen. "I can never completely immerse myself in the thought world of such lowly beings the way you do. Allowing them to approach doesn't mean I'll tolerate their presence." Her gaze hardened, the crimson glow in her eyes flaring brighter. "And another thing. No, 3 things. Those who dare to repeatedly interrupt the moments I share with you, whether intentional or not, will be erased by me." The air itself trembled with her killing intent, making it clear that Elizabeth had reached her limit. The ground split apart with a deafening roar as her fury erupted outward. Crimson energy burst from her, tearing through stone and earth alike, the sheer pressure enough to make the very air scream. Cracks spread like a spiderweb in every direction. Far away, the Dwarf King furrowed his brows, his expression grave. He clenched his fist, sensing the aura. "This feeling, it's troublesome." Beside him, Mr. Boss asked respectfully, "Your Majesty, what do you mean by this?" The Dwarf King's eyes narrowed, a bead of sweat sliding down his temple. His voice was heavy with remembrance. 500 years ago, when the Demon Queen released this same fury, nearly half the lives in the Human King's city were wiped out. His words carried both fear and warning, for he knew too well the devastation Elizabeth's wrath could bring. The entire inn was suddenly engulfed by a terrifying aura, so overwhelming that even the space around it twisted and warped. One of the attendants turned anxiously to their superior. "Lady Chi-Chi, could this be the evil presence you spoke of? Is it descending right now? Should we go inside and take a look?" Their voices trembled under the suffocating pressure, but Miss Chi-Chi's expression hardened. "This demonic power is not something you can withstand. Stay here and wait. I will go in alone." A bead of sweat slid down her cheek as she gazed at the distorted space ahead. This aura, it belongs to the Demon Queen. Just what in the world has happened inside? Meanwhile, this crushing pressure reached the deepest pits of the demon realm, where Weiss Malfoy was hiding. Upon feeling the overwhelming aura, Weiss Malfoy laughed like a madman, trembling with excitement. This is exactly the aura I've longed for, the overwhelming presence of Elizabeth descending upon me, her lofty, crushing pressure. It fills me with boundless admiration and desire. To stand beneath such majesty is the ultimate ecstasy. He remembered the first time he had witnessed her fury, when he had taken her to visit his father's underground laboratory beneath the royal city, when she discovered that half the people of the city had been turned into an undead army by forbidden magic. The crushing aura she unleashed that day had burned itself into his very soul. That overwhelming pressure seared through every cell in his body, leaving behind an imprint he could never erase. This feeling, this sensation, unlike anything I've ever known before, it overwhelms me, he cried out, his body shaking uncontrollably. His eyes widened with delirious joy as he shouted, "I can't escape it. I can't pull myself away." The aura that had once terrified others had consumed him completely, transforming fear into an addiction he could never free himself from. Elizabeth's crimson eyes gleamed coldly, her voice echoing with detached calm. "To grant an end to a twisted life is also a form of mercy." Weiss Malfoy shuddered below her, his face twisted in madness and devotion. His voice trembled as he proclaimed, "From that very moment, I, Weiss Malfoy, secretly swore an oath. For the rest of my life, I will be nothing but a loyal dog at Elizabeth's feet." Weiss convulsed violently, foam spilling from his mouth as his obsession consumed him. His mind spiraled into madness. To be by Elizabeth's side, to crave her reward, yet fear being erased at any moment, that suffocating sensation. His eyes rolled back as he gasped with deranged ecstasy. "So good, so good. It's as if I can feel it all over again, as if I'm reliving it every single time." His expression twisted between torment and rapture, a slave to both fear and worship. Clutching at his throat, he gasped desperately, his voice ragged with longing. "Even though she's right above me, I still can't reach her. The pain, the agony, it's unbearable. Beloved Elizabeth, please, just wait for me, just a little longer." Twisted flesh surged around him, wrapping tighter with each convulsion. His outstretched hand was swallowed by the grotesque mass. Then, Silence. From the writhing flesh, Weiss Malfoy emerged once more. His form was eerily composed, but his aura had completely transformed. Adjusting his broken glasses with sinister calm, he spoke with chilling conviction. After shedding the self that once groveled at your feet, I am no longer satisfied with being your dog. I will make you completely mine. His face split into a crazed grin as a dark purple aura seeped from his body. His voice trembled with obsession yet carried the weight of absolute resolve. Meanwhile, Elizabeth stood tall, her back straight, her hand glowing with dark red energy that writhed like living flames. Without even turning her head, she spoke in a cold, detached tone. You don't need to be afraid. If I'm in a good mood later, I can always recreate you again. Her crimson aura flared violently, wrapping around the others like chains of burning shadow. But at this moment, she declared, her voice echoing with absolute authority, you will vanish completely. Aleph and Pythias screamed as their bodies cracked and splintered under the overwhelming force, their forms unraveling into nothingness. Leping rushed forward, raising his hand, his voice urgent. Elizabeth, wait! Don't be so rash, he pleaded. His tone was steady, yet desperate to reach her. I understand, Elizabeth. Their service really was over the top. Instead of helping, they just made us uncomfortable. We couldn't even relax or enjoy ourselves. At that moment, Mr. Boris rushed forward, his voice trembling with both fear and determination. They're just two young girls who don't understand the weight of their actions, he cried, bowing deeply in midair. If they've committed any offense, Lady Demon King, let me, Boris, bear the punishment in their place. I beg you, show mercy. If it must be life for life, then let it be mine, he shouted, eyes burning with desperation. Please, Lady Demon King, spare Ilya. Whatever crime she has committed, let me bear it in her place. Despite his battered state, Boris knelt low, fully prepared to sacrifice himself to shield the girl. Elizabeth's crimson eyes narrowed as she turned toward him. Her voice was calm, almost casual, yet it carried the weight of a death sentence. So, you wish to disappear as well? She asked coldly. Gracefully raising her hand, crimson aura coiled around her fingers like threads of death. Very well, she declared, her tone chilling in its simplicity. Then you can die together. Her casual cruelty made the air itself feel heavier. Boris's eyes widened in terror as her crimson-black aura coiled around him like chains. He gasped, struggling in vain as the crushing power seeped into his flesh, tearing at his strength and dragging him toward inevitable destruction. His desperate plea had only sealed his fate under the merciless will of the Demon Queen. He unleashed a swarm of enchanted cards, whirling through the air like blades, trying to cut through Elizabeth's demonic aura. But the crimson-black energy lashed out, shredding them one by one as if they were fragile paper. Even the cards crafted by Leping himself can't withstand it. Boris's face was drenched in sweat, despair filling his eyes as the demonic energy consumed everything around him. This time, it's really the end. I'm sorry, Ilya. Even your father can't protect you anymore. His heart ached with regret. Elizabeth, her crimson hair flowing like fire, strode forward with absolute dominance. With just a flick of her hand, the demonic energy surged outward, engulfing the struggling figures. Leping's eyes widened, disbelief in his voice as he muttered, This is going too far, isn't it? A cold bead of sweat trailed down his face as realization sank in. I almost forgot. No matter how gentle she seems with me, Elizabeth, she has always been the Demon Queen. The weight of her true nature pressed heavily on his chest, leaving him both shaken and conflicted.